Hello, fellow World of Tank Blitzers and future Momrads. I'm Littlefinger, and I'm continuing on with our learning series video talking about your garage. Today I'm going to focus on rows 2 and 3. So I'm going to start with the missions button. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open up this page that shows your 3 current missions. These missions vary based upon tier. Oftentimes they even vary based upon tank types. On the front of the badge there, it shows you what your reward is for completing the mission. Silver coins obviously are credits. The green star there is crew experience, and of course we also talked briefly in the previous video about the yellow and the light blue stars, and I'll touch on those a little bit later. Should you get a mission that's just too difficult, you do have the option to skip, but you can only skip one mission per period without paying 50 gold coins to skip your second one if you so choose. There at the bottom it shows you when the reset is, and this is tied back to the upper right hand corner there, the 16 hours, that shows when the reset is on your 2 times experience. The ping indicator is located underneath the missions button. It shows as either green, yellow, or red. And this is basically just a general idea of what you might experience in game as far as experience lag. If the color is red, I would highly recommend not getting into battle until you figure out exactly what is causing the problem, because you're going to experience some lag. Moving to the right, the 100% crew is related to this specific tank. When you purchase a new tank, you start out at 50% crew and you have to work your way up by playing battles. You can, however, jump that to 75% by spending credits, or jump it straight to 100% by spending gold. I definitely recommend using credits, and if you have the gold, it's definitely in your advantage to do so. The crew button that I'm going to hit opens up your crew training, or you might hear this talked about as being perks. Now it's separated there by tank types on the left, and then each of these does something slightly different. So since we're on a medium tank, it's highlighted that. This one here is a level 6, which means that I have completed all of these levels here on the right. So I've accumulated 1,000,000 experience points to get here. And what it does is it accelerates the gun reloading by 6%. And as you can see, for each level it increases by 1%. So the crew training that I'm currently working on is Mentor. So this is very beneficial especially if you focus on one particular tank type and you max all of these out. It's certainly an in-game advantage for you. And as you can see here, don't play a lot of TD, so I'm kind of on level 4s with all of those. But I'm gradually working on completing them all. I'm going to skip over the battle button, as that is self-evident. The tank button to the right, I'm going to skip over just briefly and come back to it here in a second. The 171,000 light blue stars you see there are for combat experience, which are related to this specific tank that I've earned over numerous battles. The clock on the very right is a countdown clock to when the combat experience bonus resets. So right now it's a 2-time bonus. And one of the things that I highly recommend if you're working on multiple tanks is winning your first battle and getting that 2 times bonus for all of the tanks that you're trying to upgrade. Okay, so now I'm going to click the tank icon located just to the right of the battle button. This takes you to your tank upgrade page. So as you can see, my current tank is a tier 8 medium, and I currently have a type 7 tracks and engine with a tier 8 turret and a tier 9 gun. So I focus primarily on upgrading the turret and gun first, and then leave the engine and the tracks until later. So as you can see here, the Type 61 Tier 9 tank is 169,000 experience points, and I've earned 171. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the motions of purchasing this tank. I select it, click on the display modules, and here you can see on the lower right hand corner, research cost of 169,000, purchase price of 3.6 million credits. So I'm going to hit the research button. And it takes me to this page, and it shows here that I've got available XP of 171 and free of 115, which you can also see in the top upper right hand corner. So I'm going to hit research tank. So now the tank's been researched, and I could go back and just leave it if I wanted to, or I can continue forward and purchase this tank. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I got interrupted there when I was about to talk about what to do with my crew on this new tank. So anyway, I'm back at the garage. I've just purchased the Type 61, and as you can see, it's showing a crew of 50%, which is not good. So I'm going to hit the crew button, and you can see here in the lower left hand corner that it's 160,000 credits for me to train them up to 75%. And under the vehicle characteristics on the right, you can see what that actually does for the mechanics of the tank. It increases everything obviously there. Particularly looking at rate of fire, it takes it to 7.6 rounds per minute. Now if I look at spending some gold and increasing this to 100%, I'm up to 8.57 rounds per minute. So you can see the importance of training your crew up to 100% and the advantage that gives you in game, especially when you add in the perks that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and train this crew using gold. And so now for every battle, now that it's 100%, my extra crew training goes towards those perks. Okay, so now my crew is trained to 100%. Let's look at upgrades to this tank. So I'm going to click on the tank button just to the right of the battle icon. So as you can see, everything is the lowest tier for this particular tank. Like I said before, I focus on the turret and the gun first. So it's going to be 31,000 experience points, which I could use my free experience points if I decided to. So let's look at what that might do for me. It automatically skips there down to the turret, and it shows you the amount of armor. So nothing's changed there from an armor perspective. Nothing's gone up. Everything's the same. It's just added a little bit of weight. So let's see what else this does. Okay, so here under fire, it's going to increase my rounds per minute and also decrease my aiming time. So you know, those are two positives. And typically the other thing is the turret will add hit points. This one adds an additional 70 hit points to the tank. I'm not convinced that this is worth spending 30,000 free experience points on right now. I'd like to run this tank once or twice just to get a feel for it before I decide to make that purchase. So I'm not going to click on the research button at this time. Okay guys, let's move down to the third row. I'm going to skip over the record just because there's a lot in there, but it's for the most part self-explanatory. Camouflage, you can purchase different styles here, even new rare styles that are out. And you can equip them for the different types of maps that are out there. For the lights and the mediums, I typically do not put camouflage. TDs, I definitely put camouflage because I'm sitting, and it just adds an additional concealment to the tank in battle. But it is an automatic expense that you get charged as soon as you hit that battle button. Consumables. So you only get to take 3 consumables into battle with you. What I always do, for the most part, I should say, is have a small repair kit, the multi-purpose repair kit, and adrenaline. And I always put them in the same order because this is the order that they're going to show up on your battle screen, and this way I always know where they're at. So if I catch fire, I can push the multi-pack and extinguish that fire. Now, there's some other options like the fire extinguisher, which would automatically engage should I catch on fire, which is kind of nice in the sense that you don't need to push a button and you can save yourself a few hit points there. The medical kit heals crew members. The engine obviously gives you a boost. The only thing I don't like about this is that it only lasts for 15 seconds. This can be good for your TDs if you want to get to a hiding spot, and sometimes with those heavies, but I prefer to carry the increased fuel, and I'll get to that in a second. Provisions, there's the standard fuel. You can see that increase 3% to your engine power and turret. There's white rice for the Japanese crew. That adds 3% to crew mastery. There's improved fuel. I'm going to go ahead and put this on this tank since I don't have the upgraded engine yet. The one that I recommend that you carry every single time is this protective kit, and that's because of the 20% reduction to the chance of fire. Again, these provisions that you take into battle with you are an automatic expense that you get charged immediately. So, onto the ammunition. This shows you that the standard ammo for this gun, the 90 millimeter, and then it shows you the average penetration and the average damage underneath that. Now, what I always do is I'll drop this down about 10, and I'll put in here about 10 Pramo or gold rounds, as people will call you for using this out. But as you can see, it's got an increase there of my average penetration. So if I come up against a tank that I can't penetrate with the standard AP round, I'll switch over and use heat. Now, I feel like a fool for admitting this, but I won about 7,000 battles without realizing that you can click on the gold button under purchase for the heat round and switch that over to credits. So I would much rather spend 44,000 credits on that. And it also resupplies after the battle, so you'll get charged for resupplying. So if you leave that on gold, you'll get charged gold every single time. Onto the equipment. There's quite a few choices, and I think probably the best thing for me to do is come back and do a little video on all of these. I always put the rammer that adds 10% to your loading time, so that's well worth it because, hey, that's the name of the game, is shooting other people, right? We want to do it as much as possible. And since this is a new tank, what I like to do is run it a couple times and just see what's going to be the best options for me here without spending the money on them. So I'm going to go back out to the home screen. Chat button, self-explanatory. All of you guys are using iPads and iPhones, so I think you can figure out how to use chat. The one item I do want to talk about here, though, is that if you're interested in finding somebody, let's see, that is in a particular clan, if you want to find out about that clan, there is an easier way of getting it to it than through the main menu, which I talked about yesterday. You can click on them and hit profile, and then you can see at the bottom here, clan profile. So this is a very quick way of getting to specific clans for people that you've friended. So back to the garage, and I think I'm going to go run a couple in this tank. So good luck out there, guys, and Little Finger out.